Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Dreamers Sky Fitness Podcast, a radio show coming to you on this Monday evening here. Really quick with an Instagram Q&A answer session, where I take your guys' questions that you asked and answer them directly, the best of my ability, hopefully within reason, if they make enough sense. So, hope you guys have an amazing Monday so far. Quick reminder, our mandatory mobility program, which is a program that I coach you guys and walk you through every step of the way for all 30 days on how to, move better and feel better. We're talking, flexibility, mobility, stretching, tissue work, any things that are bothering you guys, whether it be knee, hip, ankle issues, lumbar stuff, shoulder things. If you find yourself sitting in a desk, traveling a lot, doing things that put your body into, unnatural healthy positions, and over time, we become tight, bound up, or losing range of motion, this program would be for you. We kick off in 4 days and I believe 21 hours and about 15 minutes, and the timer is counting. So if you guys are interested, shoot me a message, send me a DM. I will give you guys a specific podcast discount code. So just because you're podcast listeners, we're going to give you guys a discount on the program, and then through 30 days, 100% online, you guys will follow through with me. Everything is preset, it's done in there, and then obviously every step of the way I will coach you through it. And I'm traveling quite a bit during the next 30 days. So we'll do what I do on the road, in the hotels, my go-to, then obviously answering any of your questions. So I think, bang for your buck, it's the least, I'll put it this way, it's the best, one of the best programs that we do in terms of what people really need to help them. And it's the hardest one to sell, so I don't really go very hard on it because I'm not trying to convince people to do things that they should be doing on their own. I don't believe in that. But if you guys are listening, like, you know what, man, my mobility does suck. I have been having some issues. I'm not making it a priority before I work out, after a workout, or intra workout. This program would be for you, and I'll give it to you at a discount. And I can promise you guys, if you do this and you really sell to it for 30 days, you're going to find out things about your body, imbalances you have, things that are tight, things that are sore, maybe issues you didn't really realize were there. And our body is really good at basically hiding from it, if that makes sense. Your body's really good at hiding from the pain. So if you have some nagging things that are there, maybe some soft tissue stuff or some scar tissue built up or some adhesions, your body does everything it can to not be in pain every single day. So you will move differently because of those things. And our goal is to find them, eradicate them over time, so you guys can get into deeper postures, get into better range of motion, look better, move better, and feel better for life. So just my 2 cents. If you're interested, hit me up quickly, because you have 4 days from right now. It is June the 10th. And we will kick off I believe Monday it starts, but we close registration over the weekend so I can get everybody set up and kicking ass. So let's go right to the questions. Nothing super insane here. Again, just taking what you guys have asked and hopefully provide some value for you guys who ask specifically. And for the rest of you, hopefully you get a few tidbits of information along the way. So question 1, for lean athletes, best 2-week strategy before beach vacation. You, my friend, B. Marzo 18. You, my friend, are the Coachella person that we work with. You're the person who wants to look sexy for the beach. I get it. Lean's a relative term. I'm not sure, but my advice to anybody, whether it be 2 weeks, we have a podcast titled How to Get in Better Shape in 6 to 8 weeks. Same protocol here. I would get quality sleep. I would not stress about a bunch of stupid shit. I would drink fluid as much as possible every single day. I would eat at a calorie deficit inside my macro ranges. If I'm talking, being completely honest here, if I was to do it, I would go higher proteins, higher fats, eating carbohydrates only for fuel for me, just because I know how my body responds to carbohydrates. And then I would work out, obviously, with a purpose, and be very diligent. I would probably increase the activity level you're currently doing. So if you're currently working out for 30 minutes a day, I would take it to 45 or an hour if you can, because you're trying to kind of push the pace and be very mindful of everything that goes into your body, and just do the best you can. I mean, that's pretty much it. 2 weeks is not a crazy amount of time, but if you're really diligent and you cut out obviously all the booze, all the processed sugars and bullshit, and you eat basically plants and animals and drink water, and are very diligent with your strength training and your aerobic training, and you're getting quality sleep, I think you can do a lot of damage in a positive way in 14 short days. Next question on the list. Thoughts on the keto diet, Ashton_R Murray. Full podcast on the keto diet, Ashton, synopsis of it. Does it work? For sure. Just like basically all dieting protocols work for the most part. I think I have a great infographic here. Let me look through my show notes really fast, just on, and I can't remember who put this out. If Lane Norton had put this out, I think originally, kind of the counterculture diets, right? Every diet has an equal and opposing diet. So the list I have here is like, some people say go vegan, and the argument would be go carnivore, which we've done a podcast on as well. People will say eat 8 meals per day versus intermittent fasting. People will say no carbs after 6 p.m. And then Kiefer will say carb backloading is a protocol where eating all of your carbohydrates later in the day before you go to sleep. Low carb diet versus a low fat diet. Clean eating versus, if it fits your macros, flexible dieting. Common sense diet versus the alkaline diet. And the takeaway is, no diet is magic. A diet only causes weight loss if it puts you in a calorie deficit. And that's probably the biggest takeaway for people in general, just understanding that, we want things to be magic. We want them to go, super quick, super fast, super amazing. We think that, if we do this, there's some, mystical power that this diet has over another one. And the reality is it's not true. There's certain things that are going to work better for certain people, whatever you can make a lifestyle and keep sustainable. And in terms of the keto diet, does it work? Yeah, I mean, on the premise of if you're in a deficit, you're going to lose weight. And it basically is eliminating an entire macronutrient. Now, not completely. You can eat some carbohydrates on keto, but for most of you guys, it's probably, less than 40 grams a day. A lot of you guys, it's probably less than 30 or 20 grams a day of carbohydrates. And for a lot of you, that's a miserable way to live your life. And I don't think it's very sustainable. Now, I have some people in our facility, in our programs, who do go full keto, but they're very type A people. They're people who they're dentists, they're CEOs, they're doctors, they're people who committed a life to 10 years of school, like the longest schooling you can do. So therefore, they're willing to set a goal and follow through with it, no matter how hard or how miserable it is. And I think a lot of people on keto can start off hot. And then they fade because they want to, have a couple beers. They want to, eat cinnamon rolls. They want to live a normal fucking life once in a while, and it's very hard to do. Now, if you're very driven and motivated and it works for you, then great. But a lot of times people will cut out the carbohydrates and then they're eating 67 pieces of bacon a day and they're still not losing weight. So my takeaway is, does it work? For sure, because it puts you in a deficit if the calories are under, what's, you guys are burning. Short of that, I don't think it's sustainable for a lifestyle. Just my 2 cents. Again, nothing against it. I think anything you can make a lifestyle that you're healthy and happy and you're looking and moving and feeling the way you want to, I think that's a good way to go. But for most people, I think the failure rate's probably about 99% or even higher, in my opinion. Next on the list, Jake Faggot _ testosterone. My man, we just had Dr. Ben Evans on, did a full podcast on testosterone. Give it a listen. He's amazing. Answered, about 99% of my questions. I could have asked even more, but great podcast for sure. Next one, the difference between HIIT and Metcon. I want to give you my 2 cents. I don't have a lot of stuff prepared for this. I'm literally reading these off the cuff because I want to go watch the NBA Finals game here. But high intensity interval training. I think a lot of people say they do HIIT stuff, and basically they're just doing, semi-hard aerobic work. That's me being a cynic from the outside. I don't know what you guys are doing behind closed doors, but people will tell me, hey, I went and did a HIIT class for 60 minutes, and immediately my brain's like, you're full of shit. And the reason I said it is because when things are high intent, and I guess it's relative. What high intensity is to me might be different than Rick down the street, might be different from Cindy next door. But my version of high intensity interval training are the negative protocols. So people will say, I'm not saying you can't do Tabata stuff 20-10, but if you've ever ridden an assault bike and went 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off for one 4-minute set, that last 5, 6, 7, so here's an example. First 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off. That first 20 seconds, you might get 25 calories done. You pop off for 10 seconds. You pop back on. The next 20 seconds, you might get 18 calories. You pop back off. The third set, you might be at 15 if you're lucky. My point is by sets 6, 7, and 8 of that 20-10 4-minute protocol, you're literally at 50 watts. Your watts went from 1,000 on the bike to 50 because you just don't have it. Nobody can recover that quickly from that max effort stuff. So what I say when I think of, and that is in essence high intensity interval training, but you can do that for about 4 minutes. You can't do that if anybody is listening and you think you can put an assault bike on 20 on 10 off and do that for 20 minutes in a row, I would love to watch you. Just film me the last 5 minutes. I would love to see the effort. I'd love to see the numbers and how you feel when you're moving. It's not a sustainable thing. So when I think of high intensity, I think of that a short increments, less than 5 minutes or less than 10 minutes, or if it's a longer duration, I'm talking negative rest to work periods. So meaning one of the hardest, high intensity interval circuits we did, and I don't remember the entire workout. I have to message Jesse for it, but I know it was ball slams, assault bike was in there. I think burpees were in there. I think thrusters were in there, and maybe even just a basic jump rope. But what we did was we did 12 seconds on, 48 seconds off. And people are like, well, that sounds super easy. I'm like, if you really ride an assault bike for 12 seconds max effort, toast. If you're really going burpees, as many as you can squeeze in 12 seconds and you're quick enough, toast. Ball slams, toast. Thrusters, you're smoked. Now, because it's so intense and it's so draining, you need at least that 48 seconds to recover. If you guys are doing it, in my opinion, the real high intensity interval stuff, you're working for 10 seconds and you're resting for 20 seconds or 30 seconds or 40 seconds even, or maybe even a minute, because it's so intense and it's so draining inside that increment. Now, there's a million ways you can go. We can split hairs and people can, message me and hate on me for saying this, but that's the way that I look at it and see it. I think if you're really going intense, it's like, if you ever watch somebody sprint 100 meters, it's not like they're doing 66 sprints in an hour. They're doing like a 100-meter sprint, walking back for like 3-4 minutes, and then do another 100-meter sprint. And for most of these guys, you're talking 100 meters in 15 seconds, 14 seconds, 13 seconds, 12 seconds. So they're doing between 12 to 15 seconds of work, but taking 3 minutes to rest, because the body needs that to recover, to keep that intensity level that high. Now, in terms of metabolic conditioning, it's a very blanket statement. Metabolic conditioning would refer to like a structured pattern of work and rest periods that's going to give you a desired response for the body. So meaning that response could be maximum efficiency for a particular energy system. So the body has 7 different ways, I guess, of getting there. So in a nutshell, Metcon stuff, the way I look at it is, that's my dog keeping me safe from the Amazon and UPS guys, so I apologize, I'm at home right now. Metabolic conditioning would be exercise that burns a shit ton of calories inside the workout and keeps those calories burning post-workouts, not just walking on a treadmill. That would not be a form of metabolic conditioning. To me, it's where it involves the entire body. You're using probably all 4 limbs multiple times during the workout. You do have short rest periods, and you're designated to kind of push the limits in terms of strength and endurance inside the same section. Now, that's a really broad term when I say that, and there's a million ways you can go about it. Some of our metabolic conditioning stuff might be mostly aerobic. We might have a strength component, it might be an aerobic component, and it might last 17 minutes, 22 minutes, or 46 minutes. Now, there's no high intensity stuff we can do for 46 minutes, so that's kind of where I would draw the line in terms of that, where the Metcon stuff doesn't necessarily have to have an interval in there. Does that make sense? So when it says high intensity interval training, if you did a workout, but there was no work to rest period, that essentially is not high intensity interval training, because there is no intervals. You're just doing a blanket workout. If you do like a Metcon day, where it's as many rounds as possible, you just set the clock for 25 minutes, that would be a Metcon, because you're just going through, we're doing thrusters, we're doing lunges, maybe we push a sled, we're doing jumping jacks, we might do a handful of other things, whether it be loaded, unloaded, and you're working multiple systems in that same capacity. And again, there's not an interval there, you're just working for time. So that to me would be the biggest difference. Both have great benefits, but they are definitely 2 different things for sure. Next one, women's hormone replacement therapy, Susan Campbell 13. Susan, I will get, I'm going to do my best to try to get maybe Dr. Susan Wilder on here. She used to run stuff over at the Mayo Clinic here. She has her own medical place here now called Lifescape. I'll see if I can get her on. We've done some videos with her on YouTube as well. She took my wife and I through SpectraCell testing. She's in a couple mandatory minutes. And I'll see if I can get her on the podcast and be a guest to help with women's hormone replacement, because I'm a dude and I don't know a ton about women's hormone replacement. I know enough to be dangerous, but not enough to be an expert and sound intelligent on here, so I'll bring somebody on who can outsmart me in that, most definitely. Next one, Triple NX. His question was, do you vary your macro ratios based on your activity for the day, or do you decrease the calories? I do both. Depends on the time of the year, what I have going on, what I'm trying to do, looks-wise, what I'm trying to do performance-wise, if I have stuff to do for other people, if we're filming certain things. What I'll say is this. On a normal day, I kind of go through the motions and I eat at about the same level, whatever I choose to. And I pretty much know the macros within reason. Now, if I'm going to have increased activity, like I know it's going to be a ton, I'm going to increase the activity level. Or if I know I'm going to eat things that are outside of the norm, if I'm going to go to like an In-N-Out burger and eat some cookies and eat maybe 5,000 calories in a day, I'm going to up the workload for me specifically. And then what I also will do, if I have a cheat day or like a treat day, if you will, or a bigger calorie surplus meal at night, I typically do it on a Saturday. So I'll work out on Saturday hard, I fast most of the day, I eat that meal, and then Sunday I wake up fasted and I train, and we typically do our hardest Metcon day that day, and I'm using that caloric surplus from the day before to fuel my workout for Sunday. I tend to find that works best. I have the most energy that way, I train harder that way, and I also selfishly tend to look the way I want to as well. So I go both ways, but I think for you guys, common sense wise, if you're going to do more, you can eat more. If you're going to do less, you can eat less. On days that I travel and fly, typically, across the country or overseas specifically, I don't really eat a lot. I just try to stay as hydrated as possible because I'm not moving. I'm just sitting on my ass for hours and hours, and my body obviously doesn't need the same amount of nutrients and calories to perform. So hopefully that helped answer your question. Next one, meal prepping tips and ideas. For sure, real basic stuff. Most, what I used to do back in the day is I would prep meals on Sundays and Wednesdays. I don't do that anymore. I eat twice a day, and that's kind of how I roll through my day. I don't need to really prep anything because I kind of control my schedule. I can work when I work, and I can quit working when I want to quit working, so it works for me. But for you guys, definitely having things when you travel, for sure. Having, savor foods in your car, at your desk at work, or in your refrigerator at work, whatever it is. Prepping a couple meals with you for the week, I think is ideal, at least for like a breakfast, lunch, dinner, if that's how you eat. Having something from the night before. Having some things in your house ready when you get there to eat, to shove in your mouth, especially when you're starving, even if it's something as simple as like guacamole and veggies or hummus and veggies just to chew on while you're making dinner so you don't grab your kids' Teddy Grahams and Doritos and shit like that. I think that's key. For me, the only thing I really say is in our office, if worst case scenario, we have the Protein Candy beef jerky, which I believe is the best beef jerky on the planet. If you guys want a discount code, I'm happy to send it to you. It's all real stuff. They use grass-fed beef. They put coffee in it. It actually is amazing, and they've made it so soft now. Thank you, Jason. It's 1,000 times better than when they put it out. I do really love it. So we'll keep that. And so if I'm starving in a pinch, I can grab that. I'll always have water, like a Gatorade Zero or a Powerade Zero, just something with some flavor, and I'll go about my day. And if for you guys, I would say having, like nuts, beef jerky, maybe chia bars or different things in your car. I'm going to do a video on my travel to go foods here in a little bit, and I'll post it on Instagram TV so you guys can see it. But I think having a meal or two ready at your house is crucial. Having some stuff in your car, at your desk at work, and then knowing, what your day and week's going to look like. So what I tell most people is to try to plan out the night before or the day before. Look at your week on Sunday. If your week typically starts on Monday, look at what your week's looking like. Look at if you have to go to any business dinners or social obligations, and do the best you can. If you have to eat before that so you're not starving when you get there, that's key, so you eat less around those people. I think what we do is we know we're going to go to these things, and so we don't eat, and like, well, I'm going to enjoy the food, and that's fine if you choose to, but you probably have different goals than some of your people you're social with. And I just talked to a guy today, very successful businessman, and he gained about 50 pounds in the past, I don't know, probably like year, which is really, it's fucking hard to do, man. That's not 50 pounds in a good way. And what he said was, at least 3-4 times a week he has to do social stuff, whether it be happy hours or dinners with clients. And I understand, I get it. My wife lives kind of a similar lifestyle at times, and it is hard. But when you're doing that, what you have to realize is you're doing it 3-4 times a week, and then you're enjoying it at the same scale as everybody you're entertaining 3-4 times a week. But for a lot of those people, it's only once a week for them. It's maybe only once a month for them, or once every 6 months for them. But yet you're doing it multiple times a week, so they want to have the drinks and the $37 lobster mac and cheese and all the normal stuff. And you can't afford to do that 3-4 times a week if you have specific goals. So that's where you being hydrated, working out, and then eating something before so you're not hitting there starving, so you make a better choice when you're there. And then obviously, you pick and choose how you want to do the drinks and certain things. And I'm not telling you not to live your life and enjoy events with clients, but if you're doing it 3-4 times a week, is it really a special occasion? Do you really need to be enjoying it that much? And so to me, not going to the grocery store starving, not going to a restaurant starving is a great way for you guys to kind of circumvent that. And then obviously being prepared and planning ahead is also key. Hopefully that helps. Next question, Drew_88. What goes into your 2 meals that complete your calories and total macros? Well, Drew, it depends on the day. I've talked about this before, like how I eat on a daily basis, but like, for example, if I come home a lot of times, I'll work out, and then my first meal is relatively pretty big. I'm taking my supplements. I always take athletic greens before I eat. It's kind of my go-to. And I tend to do, what I do is like a little kid. Like, I try to eat the stuff I don't love and I don't like as much first, and save the stuff I love till later. And that way, if I'm really full and stuffed, I tend not to eat that stuff as much. Like, if you hate vegetables, eat your vegetables first. Like, it's pretty common sense. Like, it's like how you can't go from eating, Ben and Jerry's and then go eat Halo Top, because then Halo Top will taste like shit. Now, if you just eat Halo Top, it tastes amazing. Does that make sense? Like, you can't go from eating your favorite 8 things, and then you're kind of full, and now you still have asparagus left, and you don't love asparagus. So I tend to do it that way. So I come home and take my supplements, I take my athletic greens. I usually will have like chicken sausage in abundance, probably like grams wise of protein, probably at 40 to 50 grams of protein in chicken sausage. Chop that up. I have 2 or 3 whole omega-3 eggs. I'll put those in there. Maybe I'll do like a cup or a cup and a half of cottage cheese, which is actually quite a bit. And then an entire bag, I do like the bird's eye cauliflower rice. I'll dump that on there. Salt, pepper, all that stuff. Once in a while, I'll sprinkle a little cheese on. If I can, I'll throw in some Brussels sprouts, asparagus. So it's actually a pretty dense meal. Depending on the workout and for the day, what I'll do is we have these Better Oats oatmeal. So I'll do like basically a pack of that. I'll dump chia seeds in there with a little bit of almond milk and some cinnamon. And, you know, if I really want to go crazy, I'll cut up like a half a banana, toss it in there. Put cinnamon all over that shit because I love cinnamon. And that's pretty much probably like my first meal there for the day. Macros wise, I don't really know where it falls, and again, that can change and shift. And later in the day, I do again an abundance of meat, vegetables. I'm back on the cauliflower rice. If I want to go crazy, I'll squeeze in like a Power Crunch bar and some other things like that. Some nut butters. I'm getting better at controlling myself with nut butters and buying the individual packets so I can have those. But it really just depends on the day and what I'm doing. But for the most part, that's kind of what the day would look like. So I'm probably around 200, over more grams of protein. A lot of days is probably well over 200 grams of protein, but I try to stay around that range. Fats, I'm probably like, in 100 grams, give or take. And then carbohydrates, man, it just varies on the day. Like if I'm doing more, if my body's beat to shit, I'm doing more of like a bro workout, which means like to me, heavy mobility, light aerobic work, and then biceps, triceps, and all like the accessory body parts. I might only eat like 100 and some carbohydrates or like 100 carbs that day. And if I'm doing, squatting, deadlifting, which like on Friday did 10 sets. What did I do Friday? Back squatting, all I had is just 205, but I did 10 sets of 10, which is a lot. For some reason, I felt really good for something. And I'm like, you know what, fuck it, I haven't back squatted in a while, we'll go. So I did 10 sets of 10 of 205, and then I did 315 deadlifts, 5 by 10, so 50 total reps of 315, which is, again, these numbers aren't super crazy for me, you guys. It is a lot of volume. Walking lunges for 500 yards. Then just did a certain set of calf raises and then a squat jump protocol, like explosive, really hardcore squat jumps. And so on that day, I might eat 300 carbohydrates or more, depending on how depleted my body is and how I feel. I kind of do like almost like intuitive eating. I don't really track the macros that close at this point because I eat 2 meals a day, and they're typically the same 2 meals unless, like I said, I had a really taxing workout. But again, I used to track it on MyFitnessPal every single day actually, even before MyFitnessPal, I used to track it on pen and paper every day for about 5 years. I don't think I missed a day for almost like 5 years in a row. It's pretty obsessive in all reality. So now I know if when I eat oatmeal, if it's 27 grams of carbohydrates and half a cup of oatmeal, I know that. If a banana is 30 grams of sugar, like I know what's going on there. So you start to know things, but that's typically what my 2 meals would look like. Basically, plants and animals is what I eat for 99% of my food. Plants and animals is what I do. And that's it. So hopefully that helps shed some light on you. And again, it works for me. Some days I eat 1 big meal. Sometimes it's 2 meals. It really just depends on how I'm moving and how I'm feeling and what works best for me. And again, that's why I urge you guys to find something that works for your lifestyle. And people always ask, what do you eat? How tall are you? How big are you? I'm like, what I do, it doesn't necessarily mean it's what you should do. And I don't know a lot of people who are going to wake up at before 4 o'clock in the morning and go the entire day and not eat till 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's what I do. But I feel better that way. I don't feel bloated. I don't feel gross. I go to the bathroom regular. I feel like I have energy. I get tired just like you guys do, but I'd rather be a little bit hungry and feel a little bit empty than feel like bloated and gross and disgusting and having like heartburn while I'm training and feeling sick to my stomach. I hate that more than I hate feeling a little bit hungry or a little bit run down, if you will. So hopefully that helped answer. Next question, Aaron Bartz. Do your people track calories from supplements like omega-3s and athletic greens and BCAAs? 100%. Our people track everything. I know a lot of people will say, well, if it's vegetables, you don't have to track vegetables. I don't know where that came from. It's complete horseshit. Everything counts. It just does. It's like, just if you have a bank account and you're putting in $100 bills, $1 bills, or nickels, it all adds up. It's all money. And again, do the nickels take longer to add up than the $100 bills? For sure they do. And do carrots take longer to add up than Sour Patch Kids? 100%. But they still add up. And if you're at a caloric surplus, at a calorie surplus of 200 calories per day, and you're not losing weight, sometimes it can be the littlest things that you didn't think mattered. And again, I'm not blaming carrots, because carrots are never probably the reason, but it's like, an extra 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 extra servings of peanut butter, an extra, half piece of fruit you didn't think about. Certain things like that, they do matter, and it's important. So yes, our people track everything, just to get them in the habit of doing it, so they're mindful and they see it. Not that I think something like athletic greens or like BCAAs or the omegas are going to be, a game changer for most people, unless you're like really down to the nitty gritty. But I do think it's important just to track everything, just to have a habit, to see what it is and understand it. I think, to me, education is key. And when you're manually putting it in yourself, you're learning something, about your eating habits and patterns, and then you can look back and audit and say, hey, I felt good this day, I felt shitty these days, I didn't do my athletic greens that day, so I didn't have energy, or I didn't eat any fruit this day, or ate too many carbohydrates that day, so I felt bloated, or whatever it is. So I do think it is important to track everything, at least when you're starting up front. I think people can learn a lot about themselves, their eating patterns, their habits, and how they feel, and what foods do and don't work with their body, directly. Next one, meal prepping, how to do it best, recipes, best containers. These two, I already answered your question. Hopefully you enjoy it. Recipes, if you guys want a free recipe guide, hit me up. Say, Jeremy, listen to the podcast. We have 54 protein-packed free recipes I can send you in a PDF, which will be yours. We also have a smoothie guide as well that's free. We have a restaurant guide if you're in the Scottsdale, Phoenix kind of area. That would be helpful. And then on our YouTube channel, I think we have about 40 recipes there in video format. And then if you search the Jeremy Scott Fitness blog, there's tons and tons of recipes you can take with you. In terms of containers, always went with the basic Tupperware stuff, but I was broke and I was a cheap ass, so that worked for me. Hopefully it works for you. But if you guys do want a recipe guide that's protein-packed, or a smoothie guide, you can hit me up. I'm happy to share that with you. We put a lot of thought into that, a lot of good ideas, a lot of fun stuff. Some of you might like, some of you might hate, but hey, it's free, and we put it together for you, and we're willing to share it if you just shoot me a message. Next question on the list, Panda HD 79, how to ease back into training post-injury or surgery. Like anything, I always say contact your physician, your PT, whoever you're working with. See when they clear you for activity. Let them know, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that. See if they clear you and they say it's okay. Obviously, it depends on the extent of the injury. If you had a ruptured Achilles or like a torn ACL or bicep tear, obviously the recovery is probably a little bit longer, a little more intense. If you had a sprained ankle, probably not as crazy. Again, it depends on the severity. I remember one time I had a pulled hamstring. I think what do they classify that as? Probably like a grade 2, I think, where my butt cheek turned black and blue. That was gnarly. I couldn't walk very well. I really couldn't. I couldn't touch my toes. I really couldn't demo any exercises. And I remember I was competing. I did like the Fit USA competition for bodybuilding.com. Probably about 4 or 5 weeks after that, I was doing sprints with our people on a Sunday, and we were doing a staycation at this resort. I remember our car was parked so far away from our hotel room, and I was like basically walking like I had a stick up my ass the whole time, because it was so difficult for me to even just, minimal range of motion. Anything I did felt like it was really pulling on the back of the hamstring. It was gnarly. Not one of my favorite things. So I couldn't do aerobic work in terms of like, even jogging, skater hops, running, anything for probably about 3 to 4 weeks. So it really just depends. I always say err on the side of caution, start slow, go with mobility work, go with body weight stuff, be very careful how you load, because to me, honestly, like, live to fight another day. We're not trying to, who cares if we don't look good for, the next 3 weeks. We're trying to look good for the next 30 years. And I don't want to sacrifice, short-term gains for long-term results. I don't. I want you guys to be able to move and to train and to be as competitive and as active as possible all the way through your life. That's why I don't do a lot of really high-risk activities. I don't think it's worth it. And again, I'm not against running. If you guys love it, that's fine. I think humans naturally do run. But if it can be running on, softer grass, if it can be running on sand, if it can be running on a padded surface, just because I'm well over 200 pounds, and every time I take a step, it really is taxing on my knees, hip, and ankles, and I just don't think for longevity purposes, at some point something's going to go, whether it's a hip for me or a knee or an ankle, and I don't want that to happen. I'd like to, knock on wood, go through, this entire fitness life of mine, injury free. And whether that happens or not, who knows? But I don't want to be the one who caused it. It's kind of like people who smoke cigarettes and then they end up getting lung cancer. Like, that has to feel terrible, obviously, for the fact that you got lung cancer, but number one, because you did it to your fucking self. Like, that would suck. I would hate to look back on my life and be like, you know what, I did this to me because of poor, irresponsible choices I was making, because I was chasing a short-term goal and I really wasn't getting the results I want. Now, if you love running and you're a runner, that's great. But if you're built like me, no offense, running's probably not in the cards. You're not going to be Prefontaine, so just let that shit go. It's kind of like I'm not going to be a world-class swimmer. Like I can swim for sure, but I'm heavy at this point. I haven't practiced competitive swimming since I was probably 6 years old, so not in the cards. So play to your strengths. There's a million ways you can do things. But again, if you're doing stuff, I always say, and I always use box jump as the example. And I'm not against box jumps if you want to do them responsibly, but ask yourself, why am I doing these things? Like, why am I doing this activity? Is it to burn calories? If you're 36 years old and you're doing box jumps, what are you trying to do? Be the most explosive guy at Lifetime Fitness in your pickup game? Are you trying to be in the NBA? Like, I don't understand the purpose. Like, can you do it? Sure. Is there a safe way to do it? Sure. You can also run around your house with scissors in your hands. But what's the point? It's not like, when am I going to get hurt? It's just like, it will happen eventually. Like, why risk it? If you're just trying to get a good aerobic workout and get sweaty, there's 87,000 things you can do that won't hurt you, that will elicit the same result and be much easier on the joint. So I know that kind of got off topic a little bit, but hopefully that helps. Next one. If I'm fasting and trying to lose weight but keep muscle mass, what's the best way to achieve the goal? You're fasting and trying to lose weight and keep your muscle. Honestly, just eating a healthy, balanced diet, proteins and animals and plants, and I don't know how to answer that. It's really simple stuff. If you're fasting and you're trying to lose weight, but keep your muscle, just keep training. In all reality, keep lifting as heavy as you feel comfortable you can. Get enough strength training work in. Be very diligent about your food when you eat it, depending on how lean you want to be and how much muscle mass you want to keep. It really just depends. It's tough to answer without knowing how big you guys are, how tall you are. When we coach our individual clients, it's a little bit easier for me because I know their height, their weight, what their programming is, what their goals. But again, I fast, and I was once, I think the heaviest I ever got was 237 on the scale. I don't really like how I looked at 237. I had quite a big moon face. It's really big. It's really big for a guy like me to be. I have small joints, and it was huge. But my point is that I went the fasting route, and that's how that's the easiest way for me to get lean and stay lean is fasting. That's why I do it, and I feel the best that way. So for me, I think it's relatively easy to fast and keep your muscle as long as you're training at least probably 2 to 4 legit strength training sessions per week, giving your body enough stimulus, whether it be strength stuff, hypertrophy stuff. I think if you're a natural person, you're not on a shit ton of drugs, I think doing some form of heavy loading a couple times a week is probably ideal to keep that tissue while you're cutting down. And then from there, you make the call of how lean you want to be versus how much muscle mass you want to lose. Now, again, if you're going to lose weight, lose body fat, you're going to lose muscle. It's just part of it. Even the guys in the best drugs in the world don't get leaner and lose a bunch of weight and keep all their muscle. Just it's impossible to happen. So especially if you're doing it the natural way, the right way, and the safe way, there's going to be some muscle loss along the way. But I think what you'll find is the leaner you get, the more muscular you'll look, the more ripped you'll be, and your friends will say, "Oh man, you're huge and you're jacked," and what they really mean is you're ripped. And hopefully that helps. Next question, Mobark675. Do you have sex? Yes, Mobar, I do have sex. I'm old and married, and I've been having sex since I was probably 15 years old. So yeah, long time. Thanks for thanks for the question. Next one, my thoughts on 24-hour fasts. Although I don't take them, my thoughts on pre-workout supplements. 24-hour fasts, for sure. I'm a fan of them. I will do them periodically as well, whether it be planned or sometimes my schedule in life just gets crazier. Or honestly, what happens to me sometimes, you guys, I'm just like you. I'm busy. I have a lot of stuff going on. We're doing, multiple things in our businesses, multiple things in my personal life, and training for me, and goals and things I want to accomplish and do, and then trying to obviously connect and touch base with everybody I need to touch base with. I'll sometimes get caught in between meals. So meaning I get home and it's like 4 o'clock. And I kind of have a choice to make. I'm like, do I eat right now and then be kind of hungry at like 8:30 or 9, or do I just wait till like 5 or 6 and just eat one meal for the day? And odds are I'll look back at my day and like, I might not have ate yesterday until 6. So I kind of, I guess accidentally fasted for 22, 23, 24, 25 hours by that mark. Or sometimes I'll do it anyway if I have if I go a little hard on vacation or a little hard on a treats and cheats one day, I might, I'm eating at 6 o'clock and I get done eating at 7. I might not eat the next day till 7 because I'm busy, I'm traveling, and I had an abundance of calories from the day before. So again, I do think for some people it's helpful. You can learn a lot about yourself. Obviously, you're going to be at a caloric deficit, so weight loss and fat loss is going to happen obviously quickly. I think staying hydrated is key if you're going to do a 24-hour fast. Mental clarity, you guys have to really see it through. There's going to be ebbs and flows. You're going to be hungry 1 hour and not hungry the next, and you got to kind of have to win those battles if you're really trying to make it 24 hours. And I guess the question I'd ask is like, why do you want to fast for 24 hours? What's the point? What's the purpose? And why do you want to do it? I'm not knocking it either way. I'm just saying, asking yourself why you would choose to do it. But I do think, like anything, when it's a mental challenge, you can learn a lot about yourself. Like again, about a month ago, I hiked the Grand Canyon, rim to rim to rim. It's a mental battle for sure, and you learn a lot about yourself attrition-wise, what you can and can't do, what you're willing to push yourself through when you think you're going to quit and crack and just give up. You just kind of keep moving forward, and I think a 24-hour fast is very similar for a lot of you guys. If you've never fasted before for more than 16 hours, doing another 8 for some of you it's a game changer. It's going to be different, and you might crack and you might fail a couple times, but if you can keep pushing that window, you'll learn something about yourself. It'll teach you to go without. It'll teach you to mean what you say and do what you say and follow through on something. So that way, if you're stuck somewhere and you're only surrounded by shitty food and you don't want to eat it, but you're quote unquote starving, which, let's be honest, anybody listening here is not fucking starving. We live in America. We can buy 5,000 calories for $5 anywhere we go. It'll teach you to be able to go without at that party. It'll teach you to sit at a pizza place with your friends and homies when they're eating pizza and they're crushing beers, when you have different goals and you're just going to choose to eat a salad or eat nothing and just drink water and go about your day and just enjoy their company. Now, I'm not saying you have to do that, but it will be able to push you through those scenarios and push you through those instances where you're stuck in those places. I've done it multiple times, but I'm different. I'm weird. The people who know me obviously know who I am and they know what I'm about, so nobody judges me at this point. It was hard early on. You're going to have to, be the change, and then people will think it's strange and weird, but it's okay. But once you do it once or twice, it'll give you the mental fortitude to be able to say no to things. Like when you go to the grocery store and the first time, you want to grab, carrot cake and you don't. The first time you want to grab Captain Crunch and you don't, you say fuck it and you make a better choice. And again, you might sit there in the aisle and look at it. You might pick it up. You might actually put it in your cart, go around the store, and then halfway through you just dump it and put it in a random aisle. And yes, I'm speaking from personal experience. I've done that probably 1,000 times in my life, where I've been somewhere, I've put Cinnamon Toast Crunch in my cart, I've put, cookies in my cart, I've put other things in there, pizzas and shit, and then I went around and I thought about my goals or did whatever, and I grabbed 3 random things. I'm like, you know what, I don't need this today. I can delay this gratification for something else. And I think when you're doing fasting, I think that's what it teaches you, obviously to eat in a smaller window, so you have less chance to fuck up throughout your day, but 2, it shows that you can go without something, and it shows that you can delay gratification for a goal bigger than what is going on today. And I always equate that to, the Dave Ramsey stuff, in terms of paying off debt and living a financial free life. And the quote, it's right in front of me here in our home office. I'll read it again. You guys have heard me say it before. If you will live like no one else, later you can live like no one else. If you'll make sacrifices now that most people aren't willing to make, later on you'll be able to live as those folks will never be able to live. And then my wife has a bunch of goals here for the dates of us to pay off our house, and then take this next big trip to Thailand and all the other fun stuff we want to do. The point being is this: when you do that, when you're saying no, when you're pushing things off, it's you delaying gratification today, paying the price for something now that's going to pay off from you the next day, and a year from now. So I guess I'm a fan of fasting in general. I think there's a mental aspect to it too, that when you can control your habits, when you control your impulses, when you control your indulgences, when you can control your flesh, you can control a lot of shit in the real world, man. It makes you a pretty fucking badass human mentally, which if you can control that, man, you can do almost anything. And the next one, pre-workout supplements. I don't really take them. I've taken everything probably in the past. For me, pre-workout stuff, cold brew, coffee. I do a lot. Espresso, for sure. If I get fancy, I might do an almond milk latte. But again, it's all coffee-based. That's how I roll. I love coffee. I'm addicted to it. It's my wife says she couldn't live without it. She says it's her favorite thing in the world. I don't know if it's my favorite thing in the world, but it's probably like top 10. Like good coffee, not the cheap shit. But I'll drink whatever I can in a pinch if I need the boost to go. But pre-workout stuff, back in the day, I remember as a kid, we would take like NO Explode, which really basically only made me like shit my pants. So, and again, nothing against them. I'm sure, I don't know if it was me or them or a combo of me and the old NO Explode, so I was not a fan of that. I remember a lot of people used to love Jack 3D back in the day. What is it? Craig Caprizo's, he's on the C4 kick, so he does C4. I'm trying to think what else is there. What I used to take. MRI did the black powder. I actually like that. That wasn't bad. I would take that with like their beta-alanine mix, things like that. I think, honestly, when you look at the pre-workout stuff, you guys, most of it's just caffeine-based. Some of them might throw creatine in there or like a beta-alanine in there, or like a niacin to give you a face flush. My 2 cents, if you can go the natural route, I think it's probably best. So coffee would be ideal, and I think it's probably the cheapest. Go get yourself 2 shots of espresso and just book it. Or get a small cold brew and crush that if you need it. I mean, that's really concentrated, and I think you're fine. Now, again, I'm not judging anybody. You do what works for you, but most of those are caffeine-based, and if you just need a caffeine kick, there's a lot of natural ways to get that without all the foo-foo frilly shit that they add into it. And again, I'm not against it. If you're doing it once in a while, that's fine. And if you have a pre that you really like, shoot me a message. I'm happy to read about it and hear about it and give you my educated 2 cents. But I'm a coffee person above all else because it's natural. There's a lot of benefits to coffee, I believe, other than just the caffeine kick it gives you, and it will help you work out a little bit better. So hopefully that helps. And last question. This is bbars.amid. What is the best plan, including supplements, to get in summer shape body in 3 months? The best plan, including supplements. If you guys want a free supplement guide, again, we have so much. We have so much content. We have so many videos. We have so many PDFs. There's so much stuff. I forget half the shit that I've even written and put together. There's so much of it. So if you want a free supplement guide, I'm happy to send it out or give you my 2 cents. And we have a podcast on supplements as well. But what is the best 3-month plan to get in summer shape? Eat protein, eat vegetables, train hard, get quality sleep, don't stress about stupid shit, and just be patient with the results. And wash, rinse, and repeat, and do that until the day that you die. Not just for 3 months, but for the next 33 years. I wish I could sell you guys something sexier than that, but that's just the reality. And I said this yesterday when we were having a conversation after our group Metcon session, our advanced one, which is terrible, as I come back to life slowly. I said I would be so much more successful if I was willing to lie to people. I would be so much more successful financially if I was willing to sell people horse shit and dress things up and make them seem better or easier than they are. But that's not what I'm about. That doesn't make me a saint. Obviously, we make a ton of money doing this, but I work super hard for it, so I feel I fucking deserve it. But what I mean is, when I say successful, I could make so much more money selling the wrong shit because it's so easy to do. It's so easy to sell people this fantasy, fictional, fake fucking dream that they can do it a lot quicker, a lot simpler, and give them the easy way out to attain a body and a look and a feel that they want. And they might be able to get it for the short term, but it's not reality. It doesn't work that way. If it did, you guys, I would do it and I would sell that to you. I'm not trying to make things harder. We don't structure things so we can make way more money out of every single person. That's not what this is about. I didn't get into fitness for that. I don't believe that's what this is. The internet didn't even the internet was not this when I first started training people in 2005. It just wasn't. And even when Facebook first came out and I had a business page, people thought I was a complete dipshit because of it. So the reason I share that is we do things the right way. Everything we coach here, everything. We do not sell standalone products anymore. If you're in any groups of mine, whether it's the cheapest group we offer or the most expensive transformation program we do, I answer every question from everybody, no matter what. If you ask it, I'll answer it. If I don't know the answer, I'll get it from somebody. And the only things I ever sell here, no matter how we package them, if it's 35 days or 47 days, now the training programs might change. The eating protocols might be different styles, for sure. If we do a fasting program, versus like, if we ever did like a keto program, or if we did a paleo program, or whatever it was, it's all the same stuff. It's eating real food that nourishes your body, makes you feel good, and is inside your macro ranges. Now, if that eating protocol differs because it's fasting versus keto, because it's paleo versus, carb backloading, it still essentially is all the same. Now, we can change the workouts, we can change the rest time and the structures, we can build some of the programs to have, a personal development component to it, we can make some of them be more mobility heavy, but at the end of the day, everything we coach here is eat real food, move your body with purpose, do it in a way that's going to match your goals. So if you want to be big and jacked, that's different. If you want to be, more slender and not as muscle heavy, we'll put you on a different program, and we might have you eat a different way inside of that. But no matter what, if you're lifting, heavy ass shit, or if you're doing just hypertrophy workouts, if you're doing all Metcon stuff, or it doesn't matter. Point is how to get in the best shape in 3 months. Eat real food, train hard, get good sleep, don't stress, and do that every single day for the rest of your life. And 3 months from now or 30 years from now, it'll be the same answer. I'll never change it. There's no magic to anything else other than that. So hopefully that helps answer that question. I know it isn't that sexy and it isn't that fancy, but so many people are out there buying the wrong shit and investing in complete bullshit. And these, when you really pull up the number of it, I'm not going to say certain things. I don't want anybody to come attack me here and send me a cease and desist letter. This is the shit we deal with sometimes. That's for a different podcast altogether. But I'm not going to call any specific, fitness products out or fitness supplements out or different things. But they're really, a lot of them are just out to get your money. And they're just out to, sell you a pipe dream and sell you a bunch of shit that, in all reality, it's going to list like really short-term results or no results at all. And it's basically like putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. It really doesn't fix anything. It just prolongs the problem, and it puts you further back. And a lot of people come into my office, especially when they hear me, and I do it with padded gloves if I know you're a person who can't take the realness of what you're hearing on the podcast, but you're tuning into the podcast, so I don't really give a shit. You're here to hear my opinion, and I'm an expert on my opinion, for sure. But when people sit across from me and they say certain things, and I tell them, here's the reality. You got 55 pounds to lose. If you crush it for a year, it would take you the entire year, and that would still be really fast. For most of you, if you're going to be a little bit more relaxed, it's probably a 2-year process. And they look at me like like I told them they're going to die. They look at me like that's the worst news they could have heard. I've been like, are you kidding me? If someone told me when I was dead broke, I could have been a multimillionaire in 2 fucking years, sign me up, dude. And there's a way I could do it in a year, I'll do whatever you tell me to a T. Sign me up and I'll do it. Or if I want to take more time, I'll take 2 years. That's cool because I'm dead broke now. I'd love to have millions of dollars in 2 years. That's essentially what I'm telling them. Hey, you're not happy with how you look and move and feel today, but if you really crush it for a year or two, your whole life will change. And it seems so off of them because they heard down the street they could go on this crazy diet, eat 500 calories a day, and in 60 days they could lose 30 pounds. I'm like, that's cool. But what happens when 60 days is up? What happens on day 61? What happens on day 91? What happens a year from now when all that weight comes back and the yo-yo shit and your central nervous system, your hormones are fucked, you have adrenal fatigue, you have 97 other different problems because you weren't eating right and you weren't training. The reality is all you guys have to do is you have to really understand that eating right is hard to do. It's very simple in theory, but it's hard in application. And being consistent every single day with how you eat and how you train and how you think about yourself and how you speak to yourself and how you think about your life and not being your own worst enemy and not tearing yourself down and not being hard on yourself because you didn't eat fucking perfect, you didn't have a perfect fucking workout. It doesn't matter. There is no perfect. It's just us as humans. We're flawed. We fuck up. We do stupid shit. But we learn from it. And over time, we get older. We gain knowledge, hopefully, and we do less stupid stuff. We fuck up less. We make a better food choice. We make a better eating choice. We get to bed a little bit earlier. We don't have that extra drink. That's all it is. There's nothing else. And that's all I'm ever going to sell you guys. And I know if I did it a different way, I could probably already be retired by now. But my legacy on this earth is not about how much money I have and the fancy shit I can buy with it. It's actually helping people because I know too much to tell you otherwise. Like the old saying goes, if you know better, you do better. And they say if it's not broke, don't fix it. But if it could be better, it's as good as broken. And obviously the system that we're in, I think a lot of the shit is fucking broken. And there's a lot of people making money and selling people fucking pipe dreams that aren't going to really pan out. And I'm here to be, whatever echo of noise and whatever, light I can be in a place where people are believing the wrong stuff. And so if anybody's telling you guys anything else other than that, they're doing you a huge disservice. So you have to learn how to eat. You have to understand the power of food and what it has in your body. You have to understand what macros are. You have to understand what's coming in, what's going out. You have to be consistent with your training. You have to move your body every single day. And you have to stop spending your time doing a bunch of low return activities and stressing about shit that doesn't matter and really take care of yourself from the inside out. Because if you're healthy inside, the crazy thing is the byproduct is this outside body will start to look and move and feel the way that you guys want to. So hopefully that answers all of your questions. I know I went a little bit off here, but that's what I tend to do because it does matter to me, you guys. If you cannot tell, I am passionate about it. I do care about it because I see it. I see how it affects people negatively. I see how it changes who they are. It takes away from their self-confidence. It takes away from how inspired and motivated they are. And on the flip side, I see when people do change, when they change how they eat, when they change how they train, and a year from now, 2 years later, and they look like a different person, the way that they put on clothes, the way they walk into a room, their confidence, their fucking swagger they have. It's amazing to see, and the fact that we can play any small part in that is it's pretty cool. And that's why I wake up as early as I do every day, and that's why I try to do all this stuff to reach as many people as possible because it's a powerful thing. And if that's my legacy on this earth, then that's what it will be. So anything else you guys want to hear on the podcast, whether it's Q&A stuff, guests, or anything in between, hit me up, let me know. I'm happy to bring them on or record or speak on it if I can in any intelligent way whatsoever. If you're on iTunes right now or on Apple products, if you have an iPhone, iPad, MacBook, stop. Do not be a lazy ass. If we provided you any value whatsoever, drop us a 5-star and leave a comment. I love seeing the comments, you guys, for better, for worse. Just give me your honest opinion. I'm happy to see it. And I think later this week, if we can, I think Friday, I'm going to try to get Colleen Fosh on. Colleen is qualified for the CrossFit Games. She is a badass. She outlifts most dudes who listen to this podcast. So I'm going to get her on here. We're going to talk about, her training, her lifestyle, college career till now, qualifying for the CrossFit Games, some of her PR stuff, so I can humble all my homies I went to college with and all my friends who still quote unquote kind of lift, and see how much more badass she is, because she is a gangster. So she'll be a great guest. It'll be nice to provide some value from her to you guys as well. And short of that, again, Mandatory Mobility Program is kicking off here in about 4 days and 20 hours. If you guys want to get down on that and improve your mobility and work with me and learn a lot of stuff about mobility, I'll give you guys a specific discount code to save you a couple bucks for that, and you'll learn a lot about yourself, your imbalances in your body inside there. And I promise you, afterwards, you'll be sore for the first couple days, but you will feel substantially better when it is all said and done. I know that. So, but anything else you guys need from me, just ask. And I think that is it for tonight. So I'm gonna go watch this NBA Finals game. Hopefully they can extend the series, because I love watching legit NBA basketball. Because in the finals, they actually really try. So I dig it. So until next time, you guys, eat well, train hard, be nice to people, and please just keep doing shit you love with people you enjoy, because your life is too short not to. I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.